In the heart of America, food businesses thrive on the principles of free market economics, where supply and demand determine prices, and competition drives innovation. But what happens when government intervention disrupts this delicate balance?
When prices can't rise and fall naturally as a function of supply and demand, all sorts of bad things tend to happen. If producers can't raise prices when their own costs increase, due to inflation, for example, they're often better off by simply not making anything at all.
And as a result, this happens. You will find empty shelves in grocery stores in the same way as these were empty during the Omicron days in 2022. And the reason was the supply chain.
So if the food suppliers stop producing, they will be not in the need to hire employees, not in the need to hire trucks. And yes, the grocery stores, they will be not having any products to sell. Strangely, Kamala Harris is taking a shortcut cracking down on what she terms price gouging, especially in the food industry. Under the blanket of protecting consumers from price hikes, she is trying to bring in a model against free market practices. A model which proved to be devastating economically in countries which adopted such schemes. Schemes involving coercive and not well-though practices. And schemes which are not sustainable for a progressive economy.
As president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules.
It seems from the Harris speech that the high inflation in the Biden's regime was an outcome of the high prices, and not the vice versa. Harris is taking the corporations as the scapegoat responsible for high inflation.
She almost sounded like she was running for president of socialist Venezuela. To begin with, she made a fundamental mistake about inflation. High prices are a result of inflation, not its cause. Let's repeat that. High prices are a result of inflation, not inflation's cause. Prices went up because of the value of the dollar went down. It was weakened. In addition, the COVID lockdowns disrupted the world's highly intricate supply chains, which also sent costs soaring. Recovery from those disruptions to production have been hampered by the monsoon of regulations the Biden-Harris team are inflicting. The reaction of the Biden-Harris administration to inflation is the ancient one of scapegoating. In Roman times, Christians were blamed for higher prices. In medieval times, witches were the scapegoats. A century ago, during the German hyperinflation, Jews were made the targets. During the 1970s, it was greedy oil producers. Today, it is price gouging by greedy corporations. Harris singled out supermarkets and grocery stores. Her solution? Price controls, which fail every time they're trotted out. Controls create shortages. People won't produce at a loss. Margins for food sellers are paper thin.
It is also to be considered that United States of America is a country of 50 states and the District of Columbia. Altogether, these 50 states consist of 3,143 counties. The question here is that how such a framework as a government intervention can work upon with 100% transparency.
The price gouging is just, in supermarkets, is just blatantly ridiculous. The fact of the matter is there's so many different things that you can choose from in supermarkets. Nobody has to have this or that because there's so many substitutes. There's thin profit margins in almost all food items. So that notion is a ridiculous notion and it won't go anywhere.
These schemes would impose strict limits on the very survival of these enterprises and the employees associated with them. History has shown us what happens when governments impose strict controls on prices, especially in essential sectors like food. Communist regimes have used such measures as tools of control, leading to shortages, black markets, and widespread poverty.
Empty freezers have become a common sight in supermarkets in Caracas. Many have not been stocked for weeks. Cattle producers complain they were not consulted when Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro announced new price regulations that set the price for 1 kilo of beef at $1.
Meat disappeared. There is no meat anywhere.
This shopper has been waiting more than 10 hours outside this store after she looked for meat in 6 different supermarkets.
Either you eat meat or you don't eat anything. So Venezuelans don't eat anything because there's nothing.
Venezuelans say many people are going hungry.
You can't find eggs. You can't find meat. To buy chicken, you have to make a huge line. I'm old. I can't do the lines.
The question is about the probability of Kamala Harris drawing inspiration from such failed systems without taking into consideration the social fiber of the American society. The fiber which banded the nation together through competition, innovation, and the indigenous fair market practices. The American food industry is vast, with over 38,000 food manufacturing companies across the nation. These businesses are the backbone of our economy, employing more than 1.6 million people. If Harris's policy is enacted, the consequences could be dire. Food shortages, unemployment, and the closure of family-owned businesses could become the norm, just as they have in nations that embrace similar economic controls.
Take a look at Russia, where the government enforces strict price controls on food products, labeling it as a fight against price gouging. The result? Limited supplies, poor quality products, and an economy struggling under the weight of its own regulations.
So, what are the alternatives to a policy that threatens business growth and economic stability? Here are potential solutions that could protect consumers without harming the food industry. The first is ensuring enhanced transparency, which means that companies will be persuaded to clearly disclose their cost structures and pricing strategies. And this will help consumers understand price changes and identify any unjustified increases.
The second is supporting local food producers and businesses through grants and subsidies, and this can help reduce dependency on fluctuating supply chains and stabilize prices. But for this, government will have to, and seriously will have to, curb down its expenditures.
And the third is to provide financial assistance and tax relief to small and family-owned food businesses. This will help absorb costs and keep prices fair without compromising their survival.
Kamala Harris's anti-price gouging policy is far away from the truth. It's a step towards government overreach, a move towards policies that have failed time and again in communist countries. To protect our businesses, our jobs, and our way of life, we must stand against policies that threaten our economic freedom.
We will bring back our supply chain. We're going to bring back our supply chains. We're going to bring them back from China and other foreign countries, ending costly supply chains. Those are supply chain disruptions. We're going to bring them back. We're going to bring them back fast as we reduce burdens on domestic manufacturers. American workers will make our critical goods better and cheaper. We're going to make them in our country, right here in the USA, right here in a place called North Carolina. Have you heard of it? Have you heard of it? We're going to have 10 to 20% tariffs on foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years. We're going to charge them 10 to 20% to come in and take advantage of our country, because that's what they've been doing for nothing. To take our jobs, we're going to charge them and bring back millions and millions of jobs by doing so, and billions of dollars. I did that with China. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars with China. Nobody ever took in 10 cents from China, and it slowed them down, and it made us much better. In fact, Biden's been unable to take those tariffs off China because it's so much money coming in, they don't know what to do. How do you replace it?